Hello, everybody. My name is Andrew Sheets. I am the communications manager here at Frameline. I'm also the programmer of Frameline Fangs, which is our Halloween program. This is the second year in a row we've done it. We hope to make it an annual part of our programming where we can feature some queer horror, which we're not always able to in the normal festival. And it gives definitely queer film fans like myself who like horror a chance to check out some great content. So we've just finished our first double feature of The Office Is Mine and The Carnivores. Please stick around after this to see our chat with the film team behind The Carnivores, moderated by our good friend Joe Bowman. But I'm here to have a chat with the team behind the short horror film, The Office Is Mine. So if we want to bring folks on up. Hello, everybody. I'm going to go around and introduce y'all. We've got Michael Varrati here. Here is the writer, director of The Office Is Mine. We've got Ben. Hello. Ben Baur here, who stars in the film, also a producer. And we have Chris Salvatore here, who's also an actor in the film.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Thanks
Hi.
for joining me. And
thanks for having us.
Yeah,
thank you for having us.
Thanks for giving us your film. We're really excited about it. I know it's had a great run so far, and we can talk more about that. But I wanted to start the conversation first with you, Ben. I also saw in the credits, aside from a producer credit, you also are credited for the story concept. And I know this isn't the first time you and Michael have worked together, and I'm curious to start, at the beginning of this particular concept of this story of The Office Is Mine, and then maybe go into more about the relationship you two have on this film, other films.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so I guess I'll start with like where the concept of The Office Is Mine came from. It's basically based on like a very specific feeling that I personally got when I like opened up Instagram or Twitter and like I saw other gay actors like really nailing it. Like it was this like jealousy that just like sparked so hard. At the same time, I was reading The Velvet Rage by Alan Downs, and like while reading that, I kind of like it gave me some like insight into like where those feelings come from, and like the idea of like competition amongst gay men. And I was just like, ooh, that's really interesting. And what I love so much about horror is that you can take something like that idea between like competition that you make up because, in your mind, there's only so much territory for everybody, and you can really like heighten it. So I pitched it to Michael, who Michael, you may have to correct me, but this is the first thing we made together, wasn't it?
This is the first thing that we made to completion together. We had talked about doing another project. Ben and I had started collaborating on a short film that was also a queer horror short that proved to be very, very expensive. And it was one of those things that we were like, we cannot make this, but we really are liking this energy that we have creatively. And so we were kind of pitching ideas back and forth. And I don't know, it was fairly early on when you came up with this concept, and it just like right there, because it's exactly what Ben said. You can take horror and really use it to shine a spotlight on things that maybe in another genre we wouldn't normally get to talk about. And especially in the context of queer cinema, we see a lot of the same sort of queer narratives that are put forth in our community. And a lot of them are very nice, but the truth is there are a lot of issues that occur in the queer community and among gay men that we don't talk about. And maybe it's because we're afraid to talk about it. So why not use the lens of fear to expose that and maybe work it out? And I think The Office Is Mine really gave us the opportunity to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, when watching it, it's funny now because this job at Frameline is actually my first ever office job. And clearly all my coworkers are gay. So it's almost like the inverse. But I mean, I've worked in restaurants before, and I've always definitely felt, if another gay was hired, I felt that same kind of competitive, like, I hope they don't steal my tables, my tips kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and like the thing that I really wanted to say in this is like so much of that narrative is like completely built in your mind. Like there is no basis in like any sort of reality. You create this competition with someone like based on this like very, I mean, it's not a trivial thing, but like on this thing that does not represent who this person is besides their sexuality. And it's just like I was really excited to kind of explore how, I don't know, like how kind of like dark and gross and like Michael said, mean that could be, in hopes that, you know, maybe someone who's mean to their fellow office gay for no other reason than territory can like see their own behavior in that and be like, that's not cool.
What's funny too is one of the most consistent bits of feedback that I've gotten as we've taken it around to festivals is how many people see this short and they're like, "Oh, that's happened to me," and I'm like, "I sure hope not. I mean, at least not to that extent." But yeah, I think what it is it is relatable in the way that there is this territorialism that often exists in our community, when in fact we should be working together to raise each other up. So that's really what this is all about.
Yeah, I really feel like it also touches on how we can be our own demise, like how Ben's character, Zach, he kind of creates this thing in his head. And then ultimately, you know, I won't give away, well, you guys all just saw it, but ultimately in the end, how it's like basically he manifested his own whole big problem of all of it, basically. So I feel that that's very relatable, especially in gay men, how we kind of get in our own way, you know, if we just kind of, you know, are not so competitive maybe in our own minds against other people when it's not really there. Maybe sometimes it's there, but, you know, most of the time I think we're all just trying to get along because we all have our own insecurities going on in our own heads. And I think this is a prime example of us definitely getting in our own way sometimes.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think that's also why the film is so funny, because I think a lot of us can kind of see what isn't being said there and kind of can relate in these really absurd kind of ways. So I think it absolutely makes for a great story, and I thank all of you for telling it. Michael, do you want to talk about, apologies here, I live in, or our offices are in Soma. So Michael, would you prefer, or would you like to talk a bit about the casting and how you got what we're seeing on screen all together and the dynamics there?
Sure. Well, obviously, because the idea was born out of the collaboration between Ben and I. Ben was involved from the beginning. So that was a key bit of casting that from jump was already done. Now, what's funny about the character that Chris ultimately played, Tristan, is that when I was writing the movie, I actually was envisioning Chris in the role. It just kind of happened organically. But I hadn't really talked to Ben about it. And when I sent the first draft of the script to Ben, Ben and I were kind of bouncing ideas about casting based on people we knew. And unbeknownst to him, what I was already thinking, Ben was like, "What do you think about Chris Salvatore for this?" And I was like, "Oh my God, that's literally who I was picturing when I was writing this." And so I sent it to Chris, and mercifully he said yes. Like, you know, so it worked out because in a way, the part was sort of written for him before I even knew if he'd want to do it. So that was a real gift. And then the rest of the cast, Sarah Nicklin, who plays one of the people that work in the office, is someone that I have worked with many times. She's sort of a known presence in the world of horror movies. Ben brought Navarra Starson to us, who plays his boyfriend in the movie. And I have since worked with Navarras a couple times. He's amazing. And Felicia Wissa also was someone that Ben brought in. So it was a real collaborative effort. And what I really like about this cast is they all came to play, and I want to work with every single one of them again and again and again. It was just so amazing.
Thanks, Michael. Same. I know when I remember when Michael sent me the little synopsis. Hey, would you like to be in The Office's Mind? He only had to send me like a couple sentences about what it's about. I was like, yes, because I think me and Michael have been wanting to work together for a while, and then this great project just kind of happened, and I was so excited. And then I got to meet Ben, and I think me and Ben were like friends on Twitter or something, and then we'd all kind of met, and the cast was really amazing. Everyone was really super cool and fun and really down to play. And my favorite was the fight scene that me, Ben, and Navarez did. That was really, really cool.
Yeah, that kind of makes me curious. Chris, is this your first horror movie?
No, I've done a few, because horror's kind of become my new little fun thing to do. I love horror, I'm a horror fan, a horror movie fan. So anytime like a horror project comes across my email desk, I'm like, yes, please sign me up. Give me all the blood, beat me up, tie me up, whatever you want. But it was so fun. This is the first time I've been like kidnapped and tied up in a movie, so that was pretty fun to do. But yeah, I feel like I've done several since, and I'm just gonna keep doing them because they're so much fun to make.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think being on the set of a horror film is real character building, real and brings people together. Michael, I know this is like 100% your brand, queer horror, right? Like you've been, since I've known you, extremely prolific in this, working on the Dragula series with the Boulets. Shorts after this, I know you've worked on other features before. Where next? What can we expect from you on the horizon?
Well, I'm always looking ahead to what can be done in the space of queer horror and just queer social commentary in general. What I said at the beginning of this conversation remains true of all the work I like to do. I like to explore the aspects of our community that I'm not seeing, and I want to use storytelling to go into those places. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's uncomfortable, but I think if you tell an authentic story, there's an audience for it. And I think that, especially when it comes to representing aspects of our community that are underrepresented or have not yet been represented at all, that's important. So I've got a few horror projects that I'm sort of gestating on, but I also just wrapped a digital series that's all about queer relationships that I got to reunite with Ben on. I have been talking to Ben about a horror feature. Chris and I have actually emailed about another project. So as per usual, I've got a few plates spinning, and hopefully all of it will come out soon and we can thrill and shock audiences as we go. So.
Totally. Well, it's very obvious that there is a true horror fan behind the camera when watching all of your work. I'm interested to like kind of pick apart like the different very like specific horror elements within the office's mind that I was kind of catching up on, like these certain camera angles that were chosen, like when Tristan and Zach first meet. It's kind of like, it's not only like their height difference that's so like jarring, but it's also like this angle where you never see, like, I don't know, it seems just like a very like classic way of approaching at least cinematography when it comes to horror. And then just other little elements like the stapler being the weapon in this, and how it kind of hints at a more phallic shape, and how that's always been in the narrative of horror.
That's actually my stapler, by the way. That's the stapler on my desk. I use it on a day-to-day basis. Like, I just kept it, and now it's part of my life. So
you use a stapler every day?
Well, not every day, but like when I need to staple things, or when I need to take someone out. Like, either way.
Yeah. Cool. I also wanted to talk then about just like different stereotypes and how those played out in the film. Like I don't know if these were I was kind of not referring to them as Easter eggs when I was watching, but like I did feel like the bow tie when we first meet Tristan is a very specific choice that you made, very much so. How the iced coffee that Blake has at the very end is a very specific kind of these things that are that are like, why would you wear a bow tie on your first day of work? Like, what, like these kind of iconic things that are so synonymous with like gayness that you've incorporated in. Like, I'm just wondering if those were all you know, intended to be sprinkled in there like that.
Chris, was the bow tie yours?
I'm trying to remember what color was it? Was it?
It's like bright white.
Was it
right? Because
bright white? Yes, it was. That's actually Trevor Dow's.
A lot of attention actually went into the costuming. Ben and I went shopping together at the Glendale Americana to pick out outfits because we were trying to find the very first shirt that Zach wears was kind of like the gay Tinder shirt. Like every third gay on Tinder wears that shirt. And I remember we were trying to find that. Ben, do you have any recollections on like some of the different outfit choices?
Not even so much the outfit. I mean, I definitely recall like that shirt. I would accept no substitutes. Like I had to find that iconic shirt that like every gay on Instagram had. The other thing, I mean, I remember the iced coffee being a very, very specific choice. Like even to the point where like I was like, no, can he hold it like Mary Louise Parker from Weeds? Because that's how gay men hold their iced coffee. But yeah, and then I remember the bow tie was definitely. I believe there were several ties, and like you and I both were just like,
right.
Well, it's the bow tie. Like that's the only answer. But no, we definitely did want to play up like the, you know, each gay had their own little quirk that showed them being like their own little like hierarchy of gay. Like, does the shirt beat the bow tie? The iced coffee beats everything? I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of always viewed the bow tie outfit as well as like it was his first day, and like you always try a little hard on your first day.
A little too hard.
Yeah. Whereas at the end of the movie, you're kind of like in a relaxed cardigan situation because you have been through it. So,
amen.
Cool. Well, we are going to wrap up here in just a few minutes, but I wanted to circle back to this idea of like infighting or like, you know, gays attacking gays when that doesn't need to be the case at all. And there's a line in it that I think Owen says, Navarro's character. Oh, wait, no, it's actually you, Tristan, where you're like, straight people just don't get it. And it's so, it like kind of sums it up because it's like, yeah, maybe they don't get it and they're not like out to get you, or you don't have to feel like as marginalized as you need to. Did you want to speak more to like, to, I guess, just the theme of being the only gay in the office and what that means to all of you?
Yeah, kick us off, Ben.
Oh no, I wasn't ready. No, I just think, you know, for me, it definitely, the whole experience of making this movie and like reading that script has definitely made me like really look at what that, you know, what that jealous feeling when I see another gay actor succeeding, like what that really is. Because I mean, it's no different than what Zach is going through in the movie. And I mean, honestly, like, going back to talking about like casting Chris in the role is just like the reason that he was the like the person that I was like, yes, it's him, was because, you know, I very much did experience that feeling. Like when I would go through my Instagram and I'd see him all like, you know, 6'2" and crazy hot and be like, well, no, it's him because I'm jealous of him.
I just find it so interesting because I believe that we all have that feeling at, you know, different moments, you know, sometimes on a daily basis, especially as actors, especially as gay men. You know, it's all about like comparing and especially in casting, like you said. So it's interesting when you talk about it like this film does, it actually becomes less of this thing that has so much power in our minds and kind of power over us, because we start to realize like, oh wow, like I'm not alone, you know. Everyone kind of experiences this same feeling. It's this kind of normal kind of way of, you know, society is built, I guess. It's just kind of, it holds so much power in our minds, and it's not until we kind of, like this movie, we see it on screen and we're like, oh wow, like, yeah, I feel that too.
Yeah, and I think for all of the reasons that Ben and Chris have illustrated, and so much more, like we have allowed ourselves culturally and societally to be led to believe that there's only so many pieces of the pie available to us, and that we are sort of set on this path where we're competitive with each other because someone told us that's true. But who is it that's telling us that's the case? It's not gay people. It's some sort of hierarchy that's setting gay people against each other, so that they don't have to worry about us, because instead of like paying attention and fighting them, we become jealous of each other. And that's really what this movie was all about, I think, for me. And I know the line specifically you're talking about, you know, that straight people just don't get it. That was me speaking directly to the audience in the way that, not only as a writer and a director, but a storyteller, I've seen time and again all of these movies that are made without our lens, and that we are just expected to take and adapt to and live with. And so then when I would take queer movies into pitching rooms, and they'd be like, well, this won't work for middle America. And I'm kind of like, okay, well, I didn't make it for them, because my whole life I grew up with movies that were not made for me, and I still found something in it. This movie was for our community and addressing something that we need to know, and we know, and that we should be talking about. So that's it's all of those things baked in a stapler-filled bloody pie.
Really well put. Thanks, Michael. I'm going to wrap up here, and I want to thank our guests, Chris, Ben, and Michael, for joining us for this very special conversation for The Office Is Mine, playing Frameline Fangs.
Thank you for having us.